There's always some political element in my work. There's always some kind of a protest. It's really about empowering Indigenous women and having this uprising of rematriating the world. Putting a headdress on a model is like if I decided to wear a purple heart on my jacket because I thought it was cute. These kind of images are directly contributing to these horrible things that are happening to Indigenous women. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shock to the fashion show to see this collection and the women that are modeling and the music that's being made, and we're definitely going to go there to make a statement. I am Korina Emmerich. I am a fashion designer, artist, activist, and I am also a descendant of the Pacific Northwest Coast Salish Puyallup tribe on my father's side. It's some element of like hope in this world, is that there's so much color in fashion right now. I think it's making some sort of a statement, I always knew growing up that we were Native, but it was never really talked about. We were forced to assimilate to white culture. They used the term "kill the Indian, save the man." It was really like my sister and I who were the first within our family to really embrace the culture. I was a jingle dress dancer in powwows. The jingle dress is supposed to have about 365 jingles. It's an extremely heavy dress. And the thought behind it is that when you sew on a jingle, a prayer goes into each jingle, and when you dance, the prayers are released out. That was the first dress I ever made. And I think it was around 8th grade that I had decided that I was going to be an artist and fashion was going to be my medium. I officially started at Emmy in about 2009 when I moved to New York City. It's almost an ingrained visual in my head is to be inspired by the colors that are used in powwow regalia. I'm incorporating abalone shells and weaving into this collection. And I think it's also important to think about how to use traditional Indigenous elements in modern day fashion and keeping it modern. One of the biggest points that I like to make as a designer is to talk about how to use Indigenous references in your work without being culturally appropriating. Yeah, so that's actually Chief Joseph there, that turquoise. So it was inspired by that print. Yeah, this is the craziest piece I've ever done. So many people say, well, it's such a rich tradition and culture, and there's so much beauty in it. And with that, I completely agree. But there's a right and wrong way to using it as an inspiration. If you really know about the history of, the assimilation to white culture and all this stuff, then that's where the pain comes from. It's a huge problem in the fashion industry right now. And I think another big thing is kind of overtly sexualizing Indigenous women. I think it has a direct contribution to, the violence against Indigenous women. It's an epidemic that Indigenous women have been going missing. It almost feels like a modern day genocide of people. Like, women are sacred within our community, and the way that we're portrayed in the media in the wrong way it's absolutely disgusting. There's so many people in Indian country, like Native people across the nation, who are well versed in these in this form of art or in this form of fashion. And if somebody wants to be inspired by Indigenous culture, pick up the phone and give somebody a call. Like if you want to do something that's inspired by the Navajo tribe, call the Navajo tribe. Don't just call it like a Navajo print. I'm just trying to make these shoes fit the model. That's the thing, is like with art and clothing, sometimes it's just never finished. Yeah, those look great. I like that. When I was young, there weren't really any Indigenous fashion designers, and I think I kind of didn't want to embrace that side of my culture into my design, and I was pretty combative of it. But now as an adult, it's become a huge part of what I do. And I think a lot of that is because I'm giving representation to younger women today to say, you know, you can do whatever you want. You can be in, you know, the fashion shows in New York City.
So our next designer is Korina Emmerich, and she's a New York-based women's wear line and accessory brand. And she stands with Fashion Revolution movement, which is the belief in sustainable action, human rights, fair wage, and industry transparency. So she's standing for a lot of things.
It's been very important for me to have total transparency in the way that I produce my materials and my garments. And right now that transparency is I do everything with these two hands in this studio. The industry's really created this kind of world where the only way to be successful is to outsource garments for really cheap and unfair wages and unfair labor. So I decided to pull out of working in department stores and work more in custom-made, made-to-order, direct-to-consumer, so that I'm eliminating any waste. You know, you think about how many garments are produced in mass production that don't sell, end up in landfills. The toxins used in factories, in dyes, the chemicals that are used, the amount of water that goes into producing like one t-shirt or one pair of jeans. I absolutely think that a lot of the values that I've instilled in my business are directly come from my upbringing and being taught to respect the earth, especially as an Indigenous people. You know, we use the earth, and you don't take more than you need. To be able to have an opportunity to use my voice to inspire other young women, I think it takes me aback every day that I'm at that place in my career. And to see across, you know, all different nations what people are doing and how they're bringing their stories back is absolutely incredible.
Hi everyone, I'm Sari, the producer of Her Stories. Click here to watch more episodes, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave us a comment letting us know what other people and topics you want to see on the show. And make sure to subscribe to Now This Her. Thanks for watching.